What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Week 10 of the fantasy football season. Can you believe it? It's already Week 10, and there are a lot of folks out there who could use some help on the waiver wire. For that, we bring in the princess of props, the best in the business, Jen Piacenti from Sports Illustrated. And Jen, the quarterback position is a little bit thin right now. You've got injuries all over the place, but there's at least one quarterback who you think you could pick up and maybe start this week.
Yeah, and that quarterback is Joshua Dobbs, who had a very impressive debut with the Minnesota Vikings. Despite not even knowing his teammates' names, he led them to a game-winning drive and the victory on Sunday. Dobbs has actually been someone that you may have streamed already this season because he has the third most rushing yards, and he has been a very competent quarterback. And in Superflex leagues where you need a couple or during tough bye weeks, Josh Dobbs may have already come in handy for you. Well, now he gets an upgrade of offensive weapons, potentially even Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in NFL, coming back in the coming weeks, possibly even as soon as this week. So I like him here. Now, it is a tougher matchup this weekend with the Saints, but after that, it gets even better. It's the Broncos and the Bears. So he's someone you could hold for longer. I also like Will Levis. I like Derek Carr. And, of course, Kyler Murray's still out there in like 70% of leagues.
And Russell Wilson's also a free agent since Denver's coming off a bye. A lot of people dropped him. So if you're looking for a quarterback, he could be out there. Will Levis has a great matchup this week, by the way, against the Buccaneers. Moving on to running back, it is paper thin in most competitive leagues. But we've got one running back who I actually mentioned in my early waiver wire column a few weeks ago who finally popped.
And that running back is Keaton Mitchell, an undrafted free agent rookie who popped out for 138 yards and a touchdown on Sunday. Now, I feel like we have to bear in mind that this is still possibly a three-headed monster. You've got Gus Edwards, who, you know, he may have been phased out of the game on Sunday because he had a toe injury that caused him to miss practice last week. So after he scored his 2 touchdowns and they got out to a big lead, there was no need to continue pushing him out there. Justice Hill took the bulk of the snaps in the fourth quarter, though, when they were kind of resting their starters. So that would indicate that Mitchell may have been bumped up in the committee. But do remember, this is the Baltimore Ravens, and Lamar Jackson can vulture touchdowns at any time. So yes, I do think he is the priority add. He's the only one on the waiver wire that has that potential to be maybe Devon Achane-like. There's a possibility, but do temper expectations. However, you may need to go ahead and put in a big bid depending on your competition.
And they've got Cleveland this week, which is not a great matchup, but certainly still worth an add. Wide receiver is a lot deeper. There are more options, and we're going to start off with Demario Douglas there in New England, who will be playing in Germany this weekend.
Demario Douglas is the receiver I'm prioritizing for the Patriots. We know now that Kendrick Bourne is done for the season, and Douglas has seen 14 targets across the past 2 weeks. He also leads all Patriots wide receivers with 140 yards after the catch. So Douglas is the guy I'm prioritizing there. I also really like Michael Wilson in Arizona. He's starting opposite Hollywood Brown, and he's probably been dropped because last week you couldn't play him because of a shoulder injury, plus there's been bye weeks, etc. And now we could get Kyler Murray back as his quarterback. So Michael Wilson is a nice add as well.
Tank Dell popped, and I couldn't believe it, but he was available in more than 50% of Yahoo leagues. So go out and get him. Wow. And then Quentin Johnson also could play a bigger role for the Chargers moving forward without Joshua Palmer. Finally, tight end. Dallas Goedert is going to miss some time, so people are going to need help at tight end. Luckily, Jen, we've got a few options out there.
I'm looking at Cade Otton, who's pretty widely available. He's seen 22 targets across the past 2 games, and he had a career-best game with 70 yards and 2 touchdowns on Sunday versus the Texans. But it's not just that. It's also that his 192 routes are the 10th most at the position, and he has a top 5 schedule for the tight ends for the rest of the season. So I like Cade Otton as someone that you might be able to keep in there. I also like Jawan Johnson, Jonnu Smith, and of course, Taysom Hill. Luke Musgrave might also still be out there.
Yeah, Musgrave's out there in a lot of leagues. Not a great matchup this week, but still a guy that if you need help at tight end, he's out there on the wire. Jen, of course, you are the best. And make sure you're checking out Jen's entire list of waiver wire ads over at Sports Illustrated at si.com/fantasy. And of course, my player ranking, start 'em and sit 'em, and so much more. We are here to help you win a fantasy football championship at si.com/fantasy.